The Editor-in-Chief is live in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, welcome to the program, February the 5th, and you're with the Editor-in-Chief. G'day.
Duncan Garner, live.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Duncan Garner. Welcome. Should you really lose your 30-year career and job as a real estate agent for refusing to take part in a compulsory 90-minute lesson about Māori culture, Māori custom and language? It seems an overly harsh penalty. No other profession demands this. Now, the government says it's over the top. So why are we destroying Janet Dixon's career? Look at that. And the share market versus buying a house. Our expert, Tiger Markets CEO Greg Boland, will reveal what's the best investment. Do not miss this. This could be revealing. And the impact of Donald Trump's policies on New Zealanders. How will the tariffs affect your investments? Get in touch through our social media at Duncan Garner Podcast on TikTok, Instagram, or flick me an email, duncan@rover.nz. Let's go.
It's the Slam Dunk.
Okay, Janet Dixon has had a 30-year career in real estate without any formal complaints or blemishes to her name. But now the courts have ruled against her challenge to the industry body, the Real Estate Authority, which is demanding that she complete a 90-minute course in Māori custom and culture if she wants to be licensed to stay in her job. She was hoping the courts would rule the compulsory Māori course didn't have to be completed and she was free to carry on as a real estate agent. But the court has sided with the Real Estate Authority and Dixon faces now a 5-year ban from the industry. That's the totally over-the-top punishment the authority can hand down to Dixon. They can cancel her licence to work as an agent, therefore meaning she can no longer earn an income in the only job she's known and excelled in for 30 years. It's remarkable. It's an extraordinarily over-the-top punishment, isn't it? This is a disaster for her, and I think it sets a dangerous precedent, a dark precedent for New Zealand. I'm personally against compulsion in anything. We don't even make the Māori language compulsory in our schools. Fact is, it's not compulsory anywhere. Yet the puffed-up jerks at the Real Estate Authority made it compulsory for every practising agent to attend this 90-minute course. Why? Well, Belinda Moffat, the head of she's the head honcho at the Real Estate Agency, wrote to all agents saying this: it's an opportunity to develop or deepen their understanding of Māori culture, language and custom, particularly with respect to land and an understanding of the historical context of Te Tiriti o Waitangi, Treaty of Waitangi. Te Tiriti is a founding constitutional document in New Zealand, and Te Kākano provides an outline of Te Tiriti and highlights its ongoing relevance in the real estate context. Janet Dixon claimed that talk of Māori gods and the like, it clashed with her spiritual beliefs and outlook in the world as a religious Presbyterian, and therefore she chose not to take part. Now Dixon, of course, could have chosen the path of least resistance, done the course, shut up and moved on. But this is someone clearly making a point, right? And it may well cost her entire career. The government says the requirement to do the course is nonsense. Not even the government supports this. No one else is forced to do this. MPs don't do it, nurses, cops, no one. Yet if real estates don't, well, their career hangs on it. If we're so worried about understanding culture, custom, language, why wait to shove this down someone's throat at the end of their career and link it to their livelihood? It's a standover. It's bullying. Is this who we've become in New Zealand? Shouldn't this sort of thing be in our primary schools or at a much earlier age? Not even the last Labour government, who went weak at the knees at all things Māori, did this. But it was likely on the cards if they got a third term, probably. And just remind me, how is it relevant to real estate? I mean, I've bought and sold 5 or 6 houses. Now, on 3 occasions, the person I bought them with was Māori. But there were no Māori issues that came up, no tikanga, no custom. I actually thought that the agents on a number of occasions needed to know more information about the history of the house. And on one occasion, the agent didn't know anything about what was on the council limb report and whether the place had new piles. And one agent had no idea that one of the houses was in a high wind zone. I want them to know that stuff. But apart from that, Māori issues never emerged. I struggle to see how the course is relevant. I mean, I would prefer agents to spend way more time getting to know the actual product that they're selling so they can do their job properly. One agent once told me the floors were native timber, when it was fake processed wood. I mean, the truth is agents sell houses and land, and the more they sell, the richer they become. Now, given Māori land ownership and how much was illegally taken over our history, it's likely in many instances that this course can't do history justice at all. And many agents, I'll be brutal about this, they're selling stolen land generations on. Shove that your pipe and smoke it. That's the real truth. If they want to do, a case of the gilts, pull out the for sale sign. Forgo the commission. No amounts of tokenism and feel-good kia oras and kakitis at the end can make up for the real loss of stolen lands. Like that's going to happen. It's a dog-eat-dog industry. Agents push prices through the roof. Ethics, morals? Come on, ethics, that's a place out of England. Agents sell land and houses. Māori own land in tribal numbers and don't sell. The difference between the two couldn't be more vast. Now, that took me 9 seconds, not 90 minutes to learn. It's why the requirement is over-the-top tokenism. Our secondary schools do not demand it of our students. Yet here we are saying that you can't sell an apartment in Auckland City without doing it. It is a classic example where the Real Estate Authority has lost itself up its own backside and been captured by this culture industry, and it thinks it's doing the right and honourable thing, when in reality they look like a bunch of wet idiots who have become completely misguided and are drowning in their own staged and disingenuous political correctness and their desire to do what they think is the right thing. They've been captured by their desire to be seen as do-gooders. Yet if they pulled away for 1 minute and got some perspective, they now see that the government thinks it's way over the top, unnecessary and way too harsh. They have not much support for this. Denying a person the right to earning an income for 5 years is a seriously massive penalty that many real criminals who have broken the law don't face. We send sex pests, fraudsters, wife beaters, thieves, drunken thugs, peeping toms, and real paedophiles home and home detention. Yet they can still earn an income, yet Janet Dixon can't in her chosen field due to political correctness being applied to an industry that has for decades been hawkish and sold land at hugely inflated prices and used techniques. And the irony is it's pushed ordinary hard-working Māori out of home ownership and far out to the edges of the market and into the rental market. They've not given two hoots about whether ordinary Māori have homes. They're a brutal, profit-driven industry where best price wins, losers walk away, and the agents pocket massive commissions. Māori home ownership is so low, it's damn low because they can't afford to play in this market created by these buffs. The requirement to do suddenly now a compulsory 90-minute course is puke-inducing tokenism of the worst kind. Agents do it because they really have no choice. But Janet Dixon decided at her great cost to make a point out of it. In truth, if there are historical issues of sacred land like Wahitapu or Urupa cemetery, buried bodies, it will be correctly lodged under the relevant laws by either being on the LIM land report and held correctly within the relevant local council or territory authority, and it will be available for any agent with half a brain to access along with the associated fee. They should be able to understand how to read a LIM report. They should be aware of the local council rules regarding developments and the latest developments in that, and the infill housing and the requirements of that. They need to know more perhaps about the law and the Building Act and how that affects a site, or the RMA, how that affects a site, and whether you can build on it or whether the prospective buyer should consult a lawyer or seek further advice. They don't know enough in that area. Make them do that. That's relevant. If they can't do that or have the basic knowledge to gather all the information they can on a property, then that's where they need to get better. That's where you got to school up. Surely that's way more relevant to Kiwis, no matter what the bloody race of us are, or who we might identify as, or what pronoun we've got. If they need to know more about real estate, that lack of knowledge affects anyone buying or selling, no matter what their damn race is. I want to know more about the property, more about the thing that we're about to pay tens of thousands of dollars of commission to that agent for. Why do they get paid so much? If they can't do that, then withhold their damn licence for that, because they're clearly not up to it. And they should be showing the door for not understanding building laws and real estate laws and how to fix houses and property transactions. That's what agents really need a better understanding of. My view is many agents are lacking in the most basic knowledge. And I've seen this over time with my transactions. And they should start there before they consider a course in Te Reo Māori. The Māori course requirements are nonsense, let's be honest. The Real Estate Authority look like misguided cultural bullies. The government must go further and make sure that this woman doesn't lose her career to an over-the-top rule, sadly endorsed by a well-paid judge who is so out of touch with working New Zealanders. It's not funny. The irony is we don't even demand the judge complete this sort of course. And no doubt, as the stats show, she comes across Māori every day in her courtroom. New Zealanders are rightly horrified by these developments. The Real Estate Authority should take note of the government's angry reaction to this nonsense and allow Dixon to carry on as earning money as a licensed agent. And if Dixon is banned, then the government should change the law, do so retrospectively so it reinstates her in the job. Nothing less, in my view, is good enough.
Duncan Garner, live.
Okay, I'm gonna call him my main man here, producer Isaac. It's a pretty brutal response to someone refusing to do a compulsory course, isn't it?
Yeah,
5-year ban.
5 years worth of not working is
denying you the right to earn your income in your field.
Yeah, it's insane. And now I can also like totally understand the want of more education around, a very important part of New Zealand culture and New Zealand history.
Of course. I see that. Bring it in early.
Yeah, exactly. And for example, me and both of us, we work in the media industry, and today is very quickly becoming a very large part of that industry. And so when I was at the New Zealand Broadcasting School, we had lessons. Like we had a Māori course. We had to, we got taught the language. We had to do assignments on it because that's just an important part of our job. And again, that was done in university when we were in the education phase of what we're doing, And
bring it in early, bro. Yep.
Yeah, and so to bring it in as a compulsory thing in your work, especially because she was saying, you were saying, this is the first I'm hearing of the story, but she was saying that they were talking about, the Māori mythology and their gods and that kind of thing and how they contradicted her. For me, I'm like,
sign up to that.
There's no place for that in a workplace. Why are you taking time out of your employee's day? You're paying them to sit and talk about mythology that has nothing to do.
What's that got to do with selling property?
Exactly. The language side of things, I can understand a little bit more. Your basic phrases, your hellos, your goodbyes, whatever.
Primary school.
But again, probably should be common knowledge around New Zealand by now.
A 5-year ban for not doing it, though?
I know.
A 5-year ban?
Yeah.
People have to feed themselves, bro. People have to feed themselves. People 100%. Have a right to earn money.
100%. Yeah, 5 years is significantly too far, and somebody definitely needs to step in at this point, and I'm sure that somebody will, because as you were saying before, the government isn't behind this, so they actually have no right to stop it from doing that.
Well, they do. They know that's it. It's in the rules that they signed up for, allowed under the law, but the law doesn't specifically override it. So the law almost needs to change to say, no, that's not the intention. So they need to almost bring in a supplementary law and pass it under urgency in Parliament to say that's not the intention.
Yeah.
But the authority has all the power to do this. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And again, if you want your company, if whoever wants their company to become more educated, if they think that's an issue in their company, that's entirely up to them, and they can totally do that. But again, that's a language thing compared to let's learn about.
But this is a governing body of an industry. A governing body of an industry.
Yeah. Very interesting, but again, 5 years. It's pretty decent.
Well, mate, MPs don't have to face. MPs don't do this. Look, this is the sort of thing that if you're going to have it, it's primary schools, but it's not even compulsory in New Zealand schools. Yeah. Okay, Isaac. I know, man. I know. There's a lot of disquiet about this around the country.
Duncan Garner live.
Right, what's best? Here we go. This is the question. Buying a house or buying in the share market? What's best? The share market versus buying a house? I've got the answer for you very shortly. What should we sink our money into? And is property really the best bet over time? I think this was about to spook you, actually. And how is the cheap Chinese developer, I was going to say DeepSeek, throwing the market? It's $1 trillion lost in tech stocks within days. So how's that looking? And the impact of Donald Trump on stocks, and also the impact of his policies on New Zealanders. How will the tariffs affect our investments? Tiger Markets CEO Greg Boland is with us. Greg, g'day.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Duncan.
Tell me, Trump, all the talk about is Trump and the markets. How is the international markets, and we all have a piece of this because we're on Kiwi Saver, so we all own something somewhere. What's been the reaction?
Well, there's been 3 Mondays in a row where the markets have reacted to Trump but also DeepSeek in the middle. But the first Monday was the inauguration, which was a public holiday where he came out and spoke a lot. No one was listening because they were on holiday. But then the market rallied, his biggest rally since JFK in the first week of a new presidency.
It's remarkable, isn't it?
So remarkable. The next week we had DeepSeek, which pushed the market down and surprised many. And then this week we've had tariffs. So that's been the third Monday-itis in a row that's smashed the markets a little bit.
It has smashed the markets, and DeepSeek I think might have taken $1 trillion off some of the stocks. But I look at Kiwi Saver balances, which look and have been on the up and look healthy. And is Trump seen as a good thing for people in stocks?
Unpredictability is not what markets like. They like predictability, and definitely we were on a course for lower interest rates in the US, but now the Fed's changed their course and likely to be 2 rate cuts this year compared to 4 because inflationary pressures from Trump's tariffs and various other things. So. So from an uncertainty point of view, no, but from a business point of view, particularly small caps and the like, it may be better for the US market.
And if you look at last time, I think in the first year there was a 20-odd% bump in stocks in Trump's first year in office. Now, of course, it's different times, but that seems, if you look at history, that seems quite a promising thing to look at, isn't it?
Yeah, it was around 20-odd%. Obama's second term was about 30-something%, and Biden's first only term was around 20+% as well. But long-term average is well under about 10 to 13%.
Yeah, but what you're saying there is that there's been some pretty good years for stocks.
Yeah, in the first year after the election. So so the market has definitely gone up, but in particular sectors.
And this matters for New Zealanders, doesn't it?
Well, it does, because New Zealanders have changed their way of investing in terms of KiwiSaver, but also online investing and through various managed funds and the like. And so the amount invested into the US share market has gained significantly, particularly over the last year or so. It's up about 24 billion last year. And that's a result of some of these stocks doing really well, but things like KiwiSaver, the big super fund, various managed funds that people put their money into, and also direct equities, buying your own Apple shares or own Microsoft shares. Then there's a lot more people doing that than there has been in the past.
It is interesting, isn't it? There's that consumer ability to sit at home, which a lot of people have been in the last few years, obviously forced, and to dial up a fund or a startup fund or whatever. There's many of them online around the world in New Zealand, and to transfer some money from your account into that account, and you're a stockholder and you're away.
Exactly.
Never has it been so easy.
No, exactly. And I started in markets in 1985 with the New Zealand Futures Exchange was the first electronic market in the world. Now everything is electronic.
Yes.
And we can trade, buy and sell shares at will, and you can transfer money from your bank account through some of these online banking platforms like a Kahu within sort of 30 seconds. So wake up in the middle of the night, want to buy an Apple share, put your money in, and 30 seconds later you can buy it.
You see, they've made it, they've demystified it, and they've made it simple. Yeah. And it's arguably, you could say, more simple than buying a house.
Oh, lots more simple.
I mean, the houses are still mired in documents in many ways, and lawyers. And
well, you can buy fractions of shares, so you can invest as little as, say, $1 into a stock, whereas housing, you have to come up with a lumpy deposit and then also borrow money from the bank. So,
yes, and they sit in front of them and talk to them and give all your information. So it's cumbersome. And do you think that's why we've seen, there's been $20-odd billion extra being funneled from New Zealanders into the markets, in the US markets in the past 12 months, which seems like a heck of a lot of money. Do you think that's because housing has been questionable in terms of it's heading backwards?
Well, it definitely is. Been a hard market since COVID. In the housing market, if we look at the last 10 years, the average house price 10 years ago was about $454,000. Now it's around $775,000. So that is a return of around 5.5%. The average return on the S&P 500 is 13%. So if you put the same 454 instead of getting 775, you'll be about 1.5 million plus. Yeah, so
you see, that's interesting. It's more than double. So if you look at 10-year line average, and time and market's important, but if you look at that, you're looking at double what the housing return has been. But people are told that housing's where the smart dollar goes. We all follow this housing dream. Yeah,
well, that's because most people have made their wealth through housing, but in terms of relative wealth compared to inflation and the like, you've actually gone backwards. Yeah, at 5.5%. If inflation's 6.5%, you're minus 1%.
Well, I wonder if we're entering, or we have entered a different time now, where the next 50 years is dominated by profit and growth in capital through markets rather than people with a starting point of housing, because there are generations now that look at housing and say, well, I can't enter it, I can't access it, but I can access the market. So I wonder if we're about to see a profile change.
Well, I think New Zealanders have finally got to grips with that, and definitely the 1987 crash and parents worrying about markets after that and never investing in shares and I'll never do that again. It's definitely not the psyche now, and COVID has changed all that, where people have sat at home, they've given up their gaming, all their work from home part, and then looked at markets instead, and because they couldn't invest in travel or other activities. So
I wonder also if and KiwiSaver has been a great lesson for many New Zealanders who didn't know how to save, and so Michael Cullen wasn't loved by many business people in New Zealand, but he did create this industry, really, which I think fees last year were $900 million, so
Correct.
not bad fees for a start. And people have seen their balances pop, and they've seen their returns. It's the reporting and the transparency is pretty good.
Yeah. And you can change easily as well. So
Totally.
And people, I always come up with an adage for young people that invest is 100 minus your age. So if you are 20, 80% of your investment should be into equities, whereas later on you should be taking less risk. So if you're in KiwiSaver as a young person, you should be going in the most aggressive one you can, and putting as much money away as you can. So
and what about at 50? What should you be doing?
Well, 50-50, 50% into savings account, term deposits, 50% into bonds and those sorts of things, maybe in cash. But also then 50% in equities.
But still aggressive.
It's still pretty aggressive,
and this is another thing for New Zealanders that they don't want to know, or they're not educated in that sense. I don't mean to be patronising in this sense, but there are still many New Zealanders in default settings, accounts. And I urge them all the time to pay a little bit of interest. So spend 5 minutes transferring somewhere else, because you're likely to, rather than receive $100,000 when you retire, $400,000. There's a huge difference.
Huge difference, and also they, always make sure you've invested the minimum, so you get the tax return. The $550 odd that you get from the government is free money. Yeah,
but it does seem basic, and over time that's going to be potentially $20,000 plus a return on that.
Correct.
And I do you think we're economically illiterate in New Zealand?
Not very.
Not very literate.
No, not very financially literate. Definitely, when I was at school, we had a thing called commercial practice and the like, and you learned how to balance your checkbook or balance your accounts. When these days you just look at the thing online and hope there's some money there. It's completely different. But I think people are starting to learn a lot more through the internet on, you can learn about options, you can learn about shares, you can learn about what these companies do, just with a few clicks of the mouse.
How can we be sure that our money's safe when you put it into stocks? I mean, diversification is obviously crucial, but, when people put money into a house, at least if it collapses, there's still a house there.
That's right.
There's still a house there, and, you've seen cycles around housing. Yeah. Time and market, I know, is crucial. Diversification, those are the key messages.
Yeah. So diversification, if you're going into individual shares, then you should look at maybe 8 as a minimum.
Yep.
If you're not sure what to do, go into a managed fund like an S&P 500 index fund, like the SPY or BOO, Vanguard, or
they're all on offer,
iShares. They're all online.
Yep.
You're in terms of the return on the S&P 500 last couple of years, it's been around 23%. People are all saying it's going to be between 10 and 12%, which that's the long-term average. So, I think we'll do better than that this year.
In terms of the shocks to the market, we've seen one this year, of course, with deepfake and
DeepSeek.
Yeah, sorry, with DeepSeek, which is not a fake, although they wish it was. So with DeepSeek, so I've been talking about deepfake earlier this morning, but with DeepSeek, who basically said, "Hey, we can do this cheaper than anyone else."
Yeah.
It really surprised the markets. Why are we surprised by this? Why are we surprised by the Chinese are doing this?
Well, we shouldn't be, because the Chinese copy everything we do anyway. But over time, they'll develop something as competitive. And although they've said it's developed for a cheap amount of money, that apparently 50,000 NVIDIA chips were used to develop it. So that's a lot more than the 5.5 million development costs that they talk about.
Yes.
So,
but it's still way cheaper than what Silicon Valley's been able to come up with.
But it's whether they can, continue. So the whole AI thing and ChatGPT is continual learning. So whether that system can continually learn and also handle the volume of questions that come into it, will be debatable over time.
Yes, but I would have thought that this is a market that's really fluid.
Yes.
This is an industry that's just on the move, and it's like wrestling jelly, I think.
Yeah.
And will be for, I don't know, the foreseeable future. Yeah. So how do you as an investor, how do you approach that?
Yeah. Well, you look at what you think the long-term returns are likely to be, and the average US company 50 years ago had a longevity of about 68 years.
Yeah.
Now it's about 18. So if you look at these AI companies, the NVIDIAs and the Broadcoms and the like, invest whether you think it's going to go up or not. Hopefully it does, but then also diversify. So if you look at the Magnificent Seven, for example, 7 stocks, if you invested in those 7 last year, would have returned 67%.
Shit.
This year, Meta's up 20%, but Nvidia's down 14%. So
up 67% in 1 year.
Yeah,
Have you seen growth like that before?
Well, definitely in certain stocks, in certain industries. But given that those are the 7 biggest companies in the US, definitely not. No. So if you actually take out those 7 stocks and look at the other 493. The return on the S&P 500 was worse in New Zealand and in Australia at only about 8%. So, by investing in those big companies, yes, you're doing better, but you need to diversify amongst them all.
Where do you place crypto? Because New Zealanders increasingly are showing interest in this area.
Yeah. Well, I've been always a skeptic for crypto. Probably missed out on big returns and all that sort of thing. But so what? The biggest thing that's happened in the market in the last year is that the Securities and Exchange Commission in the US, which is the regulator, has allowed the listing of a thing called an exchange traded fund on crypto. It's actually on Bitcoin, and so the inflow into those has been absolutely huge. So they've been going for about a year, the low on the prevalent one is the iShares one by BlackRock. It's called IBIT. Its low last year, just soon after the launch, was $24. It's been as high as $62. So it's now around $54. So if you're not sure how to invest in crypto and you don't want to take individual stock risk like Coinbase and some of these other stocks, then look at something like an ETF on Bitcoin. And if it returns 15, 20, 30%, then so be it.
Is it a fad or is it here to stay?
It's here to stay, and it'll be interesting to see how. There's definitely a lot of talk from Trump around crypto and the like. Whether that's because he was launching his own crypto just before the inauguration, which is questionable, but
probably was.
Which is talking your own book. But in terms of over time, does it become a accepted currency form, if you like? And if it does, then it will go higher. But
it's a stock, really, isn't it?
Well, it's
you're buying into it, aren't you?
You're buying into it, yeah. So it was $60 or $70,000 US. This time last year, it's gone through 100,000 and it's back down again. So it definitely is a market that people are in, but you've got to, if I was an individual investor, don't know anything about it, don't know how to store your coupon, your tokens and all that sort of stuff, then look at the IBIT ETF and trade it on exchange.
Take advice.
Well, yeah.
Do people? What about gold?
Gold is at its highs. Definitely, gold has always been a hedge against uncertainty, and there's a lot of uncertainty at the moment. So gold prices is at its all-time high. So
just like a dummy's guide to this.
Yeah.
How much money do you need to buy gold? How much gold can you buy? What's a minimum gold buy?
Well, again, there's ETFs on gold, so you can buy a gold ETF such as GLD, and it's just the stock, the individual price. So it can be as low as, if you do fractions of shares, you can be as low as $1 or $2
of gold.
Of an ETF on gold. So it's either one that invests in gold companies or one that invests in physical gold. So it can be done on a very easy basis, lots of liquidity. You can get in and out straight away rather than buying a gold bar, storing it at some place.
So can you buy gold bars?
Yes.
And are they available in New Zealand?
Yes.
We have gold stored somewhere, do we?
Yeah. And these the gold exchanges, you can store it there as well. But then, you've got to insure it and you've got to make sure that gold broker is still going to be there in 5 years' time.
I find it interesting. I mean, banks, I don't know, 100 years ago, whatever, they used to have gold as their backup, didn't they?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
you needed the gold as the value of what it was in your bank.
Yeah.
I wonder, gold's worth something because why?
Well, like anything, it's supply and demand. So people see it as a scarce commodity and want to own it. And I've been 10 years ago, gold price was $1,200. Now it's $2,300.
Do we expect it to double again in 20 years?
I don't know.
Who knows?
Depends whether Trump's still there in 20 years' time. No, I shouldn't say that.
Well, no, he can't be, because this can only be his last.
Well, that's what everyone thinks, but he's
I
saying
think he
he's
can change the
making
Constitution.
murmurings.
Well, yeah, Alzheimer's and you forget. But, gold's always sort of, I find a strange thing. How much would it cost me to go and buy a gold bar, a gold bullion or whatever it is?
Well, it depends how many troy ounces are in the bar. So
It's just so heavy, isn't it?
Well, it's so heavy, but it's 2,300 an ounce, and an ounce is this much, and a gold bar is this much.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, 300,000
do
400,000.
New Zealanders openly invest in gold?
Yes, yep. And in gold companies, gold miners.
Gold miners.
Yeah.
Yeah, and see, mining's an interesting. Just to sum things up, I'll just ask you about the New Zealand economy, and certainly this is a government that appears to want to fast track projects, although fast track in New Zealand could be 2 years setting up a process, and it wants it's talking about economic growth, which it should always be doing in my view. But what's your view of the state of the economy?
I suppose a struggling economy with some sort of light at the end of the tunnel, perhaps. Unemployment today, the figures came out down. Unemployment up to 5.1% from 4.8%. GDP growth is negative, which is not good, and yet inflation is down to 2.2%. So there's no real reason why the interest rates in New Zealand shouldn't come down further, which may help.
Should have come down months ago, shouldn't they? They could have. I mean, if they're going to go 0.5, you might go the whole. I mean, what are we waiting for?
I think more certainty around global markets as well. So. And I think definitely the US market has dropped 3 times in the last 3, or out of the last four meetings, and they're likely to drop again a couple of times.
Well, if you historically look at our interest rates, and if you can pick up a 1 year rate for 5.5% at the moment, or 5.55, whatever, it's actually traditionally and historically that's pretty competitive.
Yeah, well, I paid 21%.
I've heard of you guys doing that. I've heard how many times have I heard that? Yeah, but what was the salary? You see, it was certainly
15,500.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, that's the thing. I remember being on that too. But nowadays you got house prices 10 times the salary, haven't you?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, in those times it was probably 6-7 times.
Yeah. Just finally, are big international funds, pension funds, investment funds, are they lining up to come to New Zealand to invest? And what is there here on offer to invest in? Because this is the message from the government: hey, come to New Zealand. But I look around, and we've sold 50% of the power companies, all that sort of thing under key. Where's the investment opportunity here?
Well, if they are, some funds are the likes of these ETFs and managed funds. They are country specific. So there's an MSCI New Zealand fund based offshore, which you can buy into. So they have to basically buy a basket of NZX stocks.
Yes.
So those sort of ETFs are definitely coming in and buying. There's direct equities coming in as well, and then also trade sales. So direct equity or private equity can be things like the Australian-based Pacific Equity Partners.
Are they lining up to get in here?
Yeah, they're definitely buying, well-run companies that they think they can manage and do better out of. And then you've got trade sales of a like Sistema, that was now 6 or 7 years ago.
Success story. It's a huge success story.
Yeah. And Lightspeed bought Vend. So, every shop you go into, they use a Vend software for the cash sales, and they bought that because they want to roll that good model out globally.
Yes.
So anything where there's an IT or competitive advantage that New Zealanders offer, there's definitely
there is opportunity here, and Luxon's right to be trying to whip up some support for that.
Yeah, we're definitely forerunner in agricultural commodities globally, and also do very well in small IT companies that have been sold offshore. Whether they should be or sold offshore, whether they should list, there's definitely a debate about that sort of thing.
Well, we don't. I mean, I remember the days where we would see listings weekly. There'd be not the ringing of the bell, but the equivalent. But it's just we just don't see it anymore.
No, I think.
Or if we do, then I've missed it.
Yeah, well, there definitely hasn't been many in New Zealand in the last 5 years, whereas globally those numbers are way down as well. So
why?
Mainly because people don't think they're getting enough for the sale, or that they're looking for a direct equity sale or a trade sale where they just have the person wants to retire, they want to sell System or they want to sell Wet and Forget. They sell it to a private equity firm or
Well,
whatever.
Wet and Forget's a good example of that.
Yeah, they sold it to a New Zealand private equity, so it stays in New Zealand. And
$20 million, isn't it?
I believe so. Yeah. So
Not bad retirement.
well, exactly, and good on them because they work so hard.
Completely
and
agree.
same with all of them. So
we could put MediaWorks on the block.
well, any of the media companies could be put on the block and sell, but you've got to look at long-term growth and long-term sales. So
We might leave it there. Okay, good on you, Greg. I appreciate your time, mate.
yeah, thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks very much.
Duncan Garner, live.
On the eve of Waitangi Day, let me just say this. So on the eve of our National Day, Waitangi Day, I want to say this. David Seymour has courageously chosen to front up at Waitangi today. He walked directly into the fire. It's gutsy. It's brave. Chris Luxton obviously has chosen to stay away, and he'll be doing other things. Already, I'm hearing all sorts of reports coming out that the welcoming party turned their backs on Seymour during his speech. His microphone was taken away twice and later returned. Yeah, it's rude. You invite someone up, it's rude, but it's peaceful and it's hardly unexpected. He's winding people up with his Treaty Principles Bill, so you're going to get a reaction. What his Treaty Principles Bill has unearthed, though, and for me, is the deep division that it's showing that Māori do have special rights. They do have. Māori are different to other New Zealanders. They have special rights conferred on them ahead of other New Zealanders. This is what this is revealed. Seymour says that's not right, and he wants to take them away. In truth, that's his. He wants all New Zealanders to be flat and have that same structure, that we all have the same rights, whereas in doing that, you'd take special rights away from Māori. Those rights have been given to Māori over time by the courts over the years. They're guarded jealously by Māori, guarded tightly, and they're cherished. And through loss and struggle, they've had to fight, to get these and to keep them, right? And rightly they want to keep them. If you had something that others don't have, you want to keep it, right? New Zealanders have never had a say about all this, really. It's just happened. It's just been ad hoc and it's happened over time. Hence why Seymour has put it on the table. But him being the front person for a major change to the treaty or the constitution is never going to work. It's red rag to a bull stuff. If you're going to change the constitution, it's got to be done proper process, not the ACT Party leader. But I just want to say around Seymour, good on him for fronting up at Waitangi. I think it's brave and courageous. Others haven't, and I don't think you can really ask for more than that. He's trying to do something controversial, and he's fronted up to them. So, well done.
Duncan Garner, live.
Okay, that's us. Thanks for all your feedback and support. Get in touch through our social media. Duncan Garner Podcast, TikTok, Instagram. Flick us an email, duncan@rover.nz. To my team, Isaac, thank you, sir. Good man. Do it all again. Lockie, thank you, boss. And we'll do it again when I say tomorrow, I mean Friday. We'll take a Waitangi Day. Have a breather. Remember, life is no dress rehearsal. There's no curtain raiser. This is it. We still live in one of the best places on earth despite the cultural competency courses. So get out and enjoy it. Have a great rest of the day, New Zealand. Take care. All the best.
That was Duncan Garner, Editor-in-Chief Live. Missed something on the live stream? Text Duncan to 3598 to listen back on the podcast. Want to get in touch? Got something to say? Email Duncan@rover.nz. Call 0800 863 293.